Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Collier. Welcome to Conquer with Chris, the podcast you don't want to miss. We have another extraordinary guest today. Welcome to the show, Rose.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thanks for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, before we get started, tell the people a little bit about who you are and where you are and what you do.
My name is Rose Allen. I'm the owner of Creative Social Solutions, and I am a consultant, independent education consultant. I help parents navigate the school system and community resources to develop a plan of action for their children to get them on the path to success. I'm in Atlanta, but my services are virtual, so you don't have to be in Atlanta in order to utilize my services.
That is wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, you always weren't the infinite coach that you are currently. You had a progression, right? So
Yes.
let's take people on that journey, right?
Yes.
Because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So let's talk about those early on steps, maybe in your collegiate years or high school years that help you think so you get to the right place in the future.
Yeah. So my journey didn't start out about entrepreneurship at all. Excuse me. I was on the path to be a business analyst. And it didn't even start out there. It started in high school when, excuse me, I gotta get some water. I'm so sorry. It started in high school when I started with math. I love math. And from sixth grade, I always loved math. Oh, my favorite teacher was my math teacher, even throughout college. I went to University of Georgia where I started out as a computer science major. But I took a statistics class and I fell in love with statistics. So remember, I always loved math. I love numbers. Very analytical. I always liked asking questions. Even as a child, I used to get on my mother's nerves. And I took a stat class, and I would sit in the statistics and then working on a project, and I would be in there for like 10 hours working on a project. It would be morning when I went in and night when I left out, and I wouldn't even know I'd been in there for 10 hours. So I really bumped into my passion. What was my career path? So I changed my major to statistics. And after leaving the University of Georgia, I got a job in actuary science working for an insurance company. So that took me on a lot of regulatory jobs. So I worked for banking, insurance, anything related to reading the law, understanding the systems, the process procedures, how the end user experience, being able to analyze the information on the back end and converting it to something that worked for the end user. Troubleshooting is what I really became passionate in my corporate world. And while I was sitting there one day, I said to myself, like, in the company I was working for was an insurance company, and they were downsizing because the company was going out of business. And I was sitting at my desk and I was like, this is gotta be more to it. I want to do something more than this. And I did not know the journey that I was going to go on. I end up, I didn't have any children. My niece, my daughter, the guy she was dating at the time found out that he had a daughter that he didn't know about. So I inherited an additional niece. And we fell in love. That was probably one of my first love stories. We fell in love and I became her guardian as a single mother. And so I never thought about, becoming a parent. And my daughter, I became her guardian as my niece. And she started having academic challenges. During that time, I got married, became a parent, and started dealing with the academic challenges and the parenting and then all of that, and just became overwhelming trying to get her help. And so went on family medical leave. Remember, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, God, I asked God, like, there got to be more than this. I didn't know the path that was going to take me on of finding out more than this. It was really hard to get her help. It was really, really hard to get her help in the school system. She really started struggling in middle school really bad. And she also had health issues. Now she's adopted, so I didn't know her mom's or her dad's health background. I'm so sorry. I did not know her mom or her dad's health background. So it was hard for me to, piece it all together. I went out on family medical leave from the company that I was working with and was volunteering with someone who was disabled and taking them to a program that they were attending as a guest. And they start talking about this Georgia Parent Mentor Partnership where you are a peer, you help people navigate the school system. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I became a parent mentor. And parent mentors are parents who going through something, who help other parents who are going through something. So again, I just bumped into something that I was passionate about. And after helping my daughter, she's now 32 years old, I wanted to share what I've learned with other people, other parents. So I combined my work, education, and my lived experience into a consultant business. So now my goal is to reach out to aunts who want to partner with their sisters to help get their niece or nephew on the path to success with their education.
Wow, that's tremendous. A couple of things I want to pull out if I could.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you were extremely compassionate. You took this niece in and raised her like she was your own. So there's some compassion there, and you're passionate about helping, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were serving it up to her the best you could, and now you're serving it up to other people because you don't want them to go through the hardships you went through.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all coaching really ever supposed to be, is you keeping someone from the pain points that you had to go through, or points that they realize that they have that they didn't realize were there.
Mm-hmm.
So you've created this way to get them around schools, systems,
Yes.
and get them the information they need and help them get their child the help they need. So in this process, you said it was really hard and difficult. What would you say to someone that's in it now, just getting into maybe their child just started having some stumbling blocks in middle school or end of grade school or early high school for that matter? How would you deal with that challenge, and what would you say to that parent or guardian right now?
So, it is definitely a problem solving process that I use. Because I use my background. So my thing is to go through, set it up as a project or a problem. So you really have to, and coaching is a great word because that's not a natural process for the average person to be that analytical or be that project minded or be that business oriented, especially when you are overwhelmed. So number one, you have to figure out a way to deal with your emotions, because when you're going through problem solves, you cannot let your emotions get the best of you. And that is so hard when it's your child. It's very difficult. And so the next thing is, establishing the fact that you have to manage your emotion. The next thing is getting you a good partner to walk with, somebody that can encourage you and redirect you back to the process. Because again, we're dealing with that overwhelmed emotion. That's the most difficult thing that gets you off track is your emotions. So that would be definitely step one, is figuring out how you're going to manage your emotions.
Wow, that's good, because honestly, it sounds like and I'm not trying to minimize the situation with children because it's a little bit different. Most entrepreneurs feel like their business is their baby, so to speak. So,
oh, absolutely.
So business owners get really overwhelmed by all the stuff that goes on in a business, and if that's so key, you got to keep that, keep your emotions out of it. Just take it. And I have a friend who's a motivational speaker, and he said, "How do you eat an elephant? One piece at
A
a
bite at a time." Yes.
And you can't eat the
I
whole.
use that with my parents.
You can't eat the whole thing.
You can.
Back to the original statement I made early on. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Absolutely.
Unless you get on an airplane, you can't go all 1,000 miles at one time. And even that, you have to take steps to get on the plane. So you got to take steps to buy the ticket. You got to take steps to pack your luggage, so on and so forth. So if you know you're going on this trip, you know what the end is. Jim Rohn said, if you know, there's only two things you need to know to be successful: where you are and where you want to be.
Right.
Just know where you want to go and know where you're at, and you're good. You just got to slowly, methodically bring that future person back to the present. So how would you I like that. You said get emotion out of the way and check your feelings at the door, and then learn to break it up. So what's the first thing? I know every situation is a little bit different. What's the other after you get the emotions done? You try to take the biggest piece in the room. You try to take some small hanging fruit. What's your next step with the people typically?
So number one is the first thing I want to make sure that I phrase this as, when you're dealing with parents, you got to be really careful how you manage to say that emotion. So I like to say manage your emotions, because a lot of times if you say any, in a business where you can say check it at the door or coaching basketball, because they're used to that temperament and that tone. But with parents, you have to be very careful. You need to use words that are industry specific. So for me, I have to say manage, because manage is empowering and all those good things. But the second thing is, and you said something else that was really good. So I would say the second thing is identify your goal. And when you have a parent that is struggling, establishing a goal is so very crucial, because it anchors everything else that you do. If you can manage your emotion and you know where you're going, then it's easy to be redirected. Because if they get off track, then, like a coach, you know how you have to say, okay, remember, you want to be the highest scoring basketball player. So you got to learn how to master it on the side of hitting it off the board, from the free throw line, from the 3-point line. You got to learn all this stuff. So it's easy to redirect them back into what is the goal. So managing emotion and then establishing a goal.
Wow. And I think you'd agree with this. I just read this book, The One Thing, and he says the reason why people aren't successful in any area of life, but he was trying to focus on business. He said you got too many things going on. Do be good at one thing, right?
One thing.
So for maybe this parent, it's just, hey, let's get some norms. Let's set up some norms. If the child's doing like horrible in English or social studies or whatever, let's make a norm for them. That would be the first step, correct? Let's get you to what normal is. What most kids would just be average or whatever. Get you turning in homework on a regular basis. Getting you be able to understand what's going on in the class even. Whatever that norm is, you hit that, and now the kid's feeling more confident. The parents feeling more confident, right?
Mm-hmm. And this is the challenge. So remember, so a lot of kids that I'm working with are kids who are struggling, who can't function like the we call them typical student would. And so what I have to do is tap into their gift. So I have to know what their weakness is, what their strength, and the family's constraints. Those are the three things that I try to tap into. Because again, it's always about redirecting. Coaching is about being able to redirect and teach a skill. So when I'm talking to the parent and we establish the goal, it has to be a SMART goal, just like in business. So I'm taking everything that I learned in business and in life and applying it to navigating education. It got to be a SMART goal. It have to be specific. And the thing I think we're talking about, measurable. It has to be obtainable. And so what attainable, that's really important when you're talking about a norm, because a norm for a child with an IQ of 110 or 150 is different from a norm of a child with an 80 IQ or a 70 IQ. So when you set the goal, you're establishing what's normal for that kid and this family. When I talk to parents, I'm talking to them about, and I'm trying to get the parent and the child first. If it's parents, I got to make sure they're on the same page. It's building a team. The next step is building that team. So we've managed the emotions, we established the goal. Now we got to develop our team.
That's great. That is. So you clearly are saying that you're building a team, the family unit, whether it's a single parent and a child, or foster parent and a child, or an adopted parent and a child. You're building a team with them, and you're kind of like their coach. You keep saying you redirect them. Right. I think that's key, because instead of them hitting a wall, it's kind of like we used to run something, excuse the expression, this might not even be politically correct, so excuse the expression. When I was playing basketball, when I was coming, we used to run something called suicides.
Right.
And you'd go to run one mark and run back to the wall. And so that's what you're teaching. You teach them how to run these links. And as they get good at the links become a little bit longer, right? And whatever's normal, the new normal for that child, based upon what their abilities and capabilities are, you tap into their super talent. I want to hear more about that. How do you tap into how do you find their super talent?
And so, so my services are directed to the parents, and I teach the parents how to navigate the resources in their child. So with setting the goals, with the child, the super talent is it has the plan that we're developing for the student has to be student centered. So you have to know what their strength is. And I like to look at like what the schools say their strengths and weaknesses are, what the parents say they are, and what the students say what they are, and then then my observation, because I like to get to know them and then see what I see. And then find out where we can come to an agreement. And one of the things that I love to do when I'm interacting with the parent and the student is catching something that's positive, that's motivating, and keep saying it. So I'm building up their self-esteem, and I'm building up this belief and giving them something to live up to. So I had a student, she was a great self-advocate, but the tendency is to talk about the weakness. But when I would talk to the mom, I would always say, your daughter is a great self-advocate, so we can get her to say how she feel about this. And so I'm directing the mom on how to engage with her child. So I'm telling the mom, because I'm teaching the mom new skills. That's my job, is to teach the parent a new skill. And then I say it when I'm talking to the child, I say the same thing. You're a great self-advocate. So when we go in now, it's three of us saying the same thing. So we go in a meeting. What are we talking about? We're talking to the school about her being a great self-advocate, so that we're reiterating that thing we want her to believe about herself. And so while we deal with the weakness, because we don't want the weakness to be the focal point, we want the strength to be the strength to be the focal point. So we lead with the strength and we remediate the weakness. So that's the strategy.
That is so key, because too many times, like, I'm going to apply this to just general life. We always focus on, when we look at someone else, right? This is the truth. When you look at someone else, you say, man, they're so great. But when you look at yourself, you always see your weakness, your flaws, oh, I'm not that great. But when other people see you, man, that Rose Allen, she's the best at what she does. And you'd be like, well, there's holes in my game plans, there's blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day is we got to get out of that self-talk. And the best way to do that is surround yourself with people who see you in a positive light. And that's great, because like growing up the way I grew up, there was a lot of great things said about me, but there was also a lot of negative. You got to put in more positive than negative to weed that negative out, because it's not going anywhere, but you got to keep giving positive. I think that's key. And not only you're getting positive to the child, you're getting or the student, you're getting positive to the parent as well, because they, I have this theory that people take Polaroid pictures and they keep them. That as you grow, they don't change the picture. You're still the paper boy from when you were a kid, or you're still the scrawny acne-filled teenager. You're still the outcast, right? Versus you're 50 years old now. None of that applies. Right. But parents do that with their kids. They take pictures and be like, you were the kid who can't sit still at school. You sit still at home. No. Use that superpower. Have them help you clean. Have them help you excuse me, do something to make the living situation better, or use that to help learn, right? Because I'm sure some like a lot of the songs I know from Sunday school, I remember we had motions like, to the songs, so they stuck in my head. So there's all sorts of different ways you can get kids to learn and to learn beyond their means. So I think that's very good that you're teaching them to go to the positive versus the negative. So go ahead.
And also the team that supports them. So I really believe in this whole thing of, for the students, it's empowering them with self-determination. You want that. That's what I'm instilling in that child. With the parent, I'm coaching that parent on how to navigate resources for their child. For that school, I'm holding them accountable to a process that they should in education, they should be providing to the child. So it's really, you talk about basketball. I kept stats for the basketball team in high school. So when you talk basketball, it's really about, you find out that player's strength, and then you coach them and you give them drills around their weakness. You want to reinforce, you want them to, if they're the best 3-point shooter, then you know who you're going to send in the line to 3-point. But if they have a weakness and they can't hit that backboard and they can't get in that rebound that ball, during practice, you're going to keep teaching them so that you can be stronger. It might not be that go-to play for him, but what go-to play you can, what you can cheer them for. And so that's what I try to instill in the parents. Like, you have to be the expert on your child. You have to go in there knowing your child. Somebody, I'm a blended family. So you talk about, I didn't tell you the whole story. My ex-husband and I, we had 6 kids that we were legally responsible for. So now remember, I adopted a child as a single mother. Me and my ex-husband had a biological child, and then I have 4 stepchildren. I have a goddaughter and 2 goddaughters. So, my family motto was extended, mended, and blended, family by any means necessary, because I had every title. I've been to all kind of, I've been through the foster care training, all this stuff. So, but my job is to figure out what position I'm supposed to play in that particular gameplay and play it. So if I'm dealing with a single mother, I need to know how to talk to the single mother. If I'm dealing to the adopted mother, I need to know how to talk it's about coaching in that position that person is playing, and getting them to see them say the way that I see them, based on everything they told me. So my job is to make sure that the plan that we've developed, because at the end of the day, it's about developing a plan that leads to success. And then with that plan, I'm going to help them execute that plan. And it's all those things. You got me thinking basketball now. It's all those things you see the coach doing on the sideline when you're playing basketball. You're reiterating what you told them during the practice. You're reiterating what, the plan is on the plan board. You're reiterating all this stuff. And so that's what I do with the parents. And I'm using the technical skills that I learned in corporate America and my statistics background, the analytical part. Those are the things that I'm teaching, coaching them. Like, this is how you do this, Mom. This is how you do this, Dad.
That is so funny. Rose, you don't realize this, but you've been the center, the point guard, the shooting guard, the small and large forward, and the statistician that sat on the sideline.
Yes.
Coach. So you're the video expert when it comes to basketball. So you're the scout. So now you've done all this, and that's really what you're doing. You're scouting, right? You're scouting for the team. You say, no, this is how we need to play these positions. Mom, you're playing center. You need to play big forward, and let the kid play the center, because he can dunk. He's just going to dunk. That's all he's going to do is just dunk. That's amazing.
You are creating such a vivid picture, because when you said that last position, I thought about Shaq. I think about that big four, the person that go in all the force and just gonna get it in there.
Or you got someone like Shaq, oh, you did say Shaq. I'm sorry. Like, I was thinking of Keem Olajuwon. He does that baseline fade. You got all sorts of different ones.
Yes.
So here's the thing, Rose. Our time's winding up. How can people find you?
Okay, so the name of my business is Creative Social Solutions, and that's solutions with an S. You can Google me, or that's my actual website, creativesocialsolutions.org. And also, you can also email me at creativesocialsolution.css@gmail.com, or they can reach me by phone at 404-454-5946.
And all that information will be in the bottom, whether you're on YouTube or on our audio podcast. Listen, do you have a favorite quote, Rose?
What's in my mind now is the one about extended, minute, and blended families by any means necessary, because I really believe that if you impart knowledge on parents, you will change not only one child, but multiple children. Matter of fact, a community.
That is wonderful. Well, listen, it's been my pleasure to be your host. My name is Chris Collier, Conquer with Chris, the podcast you don't want to miss. We'll catch you the next time.
Thank you